You are the average of the 5 people you allow influence you.
Right. What is the thing that's been keeping you safe? Is actually the thing that's keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like I said earlier, it's miserable to be comfortably stuck.
And this is 1% better every day. We talk about this, which compounds to that 37% over a year. So understanding that, I'm like, okay, what do I need to work on today? Do I need to apologize to somebody? Do I need to show up more in kind and compassion and loving? If you don't have that mentality of growth, if we're not growing, then we're dying. And so that's always been embedded in my mind. And so when I reflect back the last decade and just being along in this journey with you, if we haven't killed the old version of us, then we would be stuck in that cog in the wheel or rat race.
Welcome to the Level Up and Live podcast, the Montgomery County business podcast for Montgomery County business owners. And today we have a really good one. John said we had a landscaping owner coming on, and I thought, oh, people, they'll need to get a yard cut and whatnot. But then I started researching Mike Faust, who we have on today, and I'm like, this is like art. It's beautiful. It's not just cutting yards. This is like the whole thing. I even on Facebook, I was just researching, and how you put it was transforming outdoor spaces into breathtaking works of art. And I was like, man, that is spot on. It is art. I stayed on your site looking through for probably a good 5 to 8 minutes. That's a long time. By the time I was done, I started playing. I was just like, man, I want my yard to be done. I want it to look like this. Like I was sold by the time I was done. It was beautiful. So if you're listening to this and you want to see what we're talking about, go to Faust Landscaping, LLC on Facebook, and you will see the beautiful works of art that transforming yards into just gorgeous pieces of serenity that you could spend your time in. So before I hand it over to you, Mike, and you can tell us all about you, just our paid advertising, Revolution Power Sports. I've been saying it's in Willis, Texas. It's not in Willis. It's in Conroe. I was speaking to the owner, Micah Harhoff, this past week, and we were discussing that. I was like, note to self. 4-wheelers, side-by-sides, absolutely stunning bikes. He gets the best ones in the nation. They look fantastic. They don't just sell the bikes, they actually do the parts and service. So if you know anybody needs that, go see them in Conroe, Texas. I was talking to him, and he said he's going to be, if he's not already, the Jeff Bezos of the side-by-side ATV. He said you can order online from your door. You order it, and it's going to arrive on your door. So he's got the whole process down. So yeah, go see them on there. But all right, Mike, back to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and everything that you've got going on.
Yeah, so I've been in business for 11 years. It started with just the maintenance. That's how I got my feet wet in the landscaping industry. I did it by myself for a couple of years. But what we offer today is we offer residential and commercial maintenance, and then we also do design and install. So whenever it comes to the designs, we offer 2D. We also offer 3D renderings to show our clients visuals of what we're going to be doing. And then we actually do all the in-house installation of everything as well. So we're proud to say that we fully do the whole picture and that we have all the employees to do so. That sums it up,
Yeah, no, Mike, I love it, man. So I don't know if you know this or not, but I used to own a lawn care and landscaping company. I guess it's been almost 3 years now. And so when I moved into the community that we're in right now, I saw a need for lawn care because of lack of communication, just some other things, just a lot of pain points that customers were going through. So me and my wife, we ended up building a lawn care company here in our community. And one of the things that we ran into probably the first 12 to 18 months was scaling and systems. And we scaled really fast, and we created systems really fast. And so I'm sure you said you've been in business for 11 years, and I know you probably ran into similar challenges that I did. But I'm curious with you, man, just for selfish reasons, and I'm sure our listeners would probably appreciate this as well. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when scaling Faust Landscaping? And then what systems and processes did you use to overcome them? Good
question. I haven't been asked that, actually. So we did run into that issue, right? Probably whenever I moved into the neighborhood, there was a need for it. We don't just service our neighborhood. We service from Houston to Huntsville. And when we got into the neighborhood, we became pretty popular, and quality of work started going down because we were trying to feed all the customers in need. it was a bittersweet thing. We saw the growth, but we saw, the take back of the risk of getting bad reviews and unhappy clients, and then it just going the opposite direction. So, I hired business coaches. I heard what they had to say, but the best thing that happened to me was just finding the right person to be like my number one within my company and moving them up, and then just feeding the information and really just working on the business side and in the business, and just allowing processes and procedures. We got this, we use Jobber. So that's a really nice platform for, scheduling and invoicing, and it's just real transparent. So just being organized and then just taking a step back instead of moving 2 feet forward is what we did. So yeah, we ran into the issue, but I feel like we extinguished the fire.
So you are where you are now. Did it look exactly like you had planned, or what was the initial dream, and then how did it morph into, or did it morph into what it is now, or has it just been, you had a vision and you've been able to execute the whole way through?
I feel like I exceeded my goals, but we set new ones. Because of the networking groups I'm in, it generates more residential clients than commercial, which is okay, because there's a big niche for it, even though we do both. But the goal is just growth. And I mean, I do this for money, so, as long as I can earn the money and the customer's happy, then we're satisfied at Faust Landscaping. But, right now we're running 15 trucks every day. So, I mean, that exceeded my expectations, but, within the last couple of years, now we want 20, you know what I mean? So it's just, the goals change as the years go.
Yeah. When you say that you do it for money, well, of course, that is the consequence. That is an outcome of all that you do.
Right.
So when it's vision for the guys that follow you, and the vision for the company, and they're bought in, how do you translate that into that desire, like that want to, where they want to go forward and execute?
So, I mean, just being organized, being organized for our crew members. We have a happy, work environment. I feel like everyone gets along. And then, we periodically give raises to people that have been, loyal with us for a while. And then, of course, experience is another aspect that we look into. But, at the end of the year, I give everybody, around Christmas time, I give them, a full week of paid time off, and it doesn't account to their vacation time. So we try to do things for the people that follow us to make them want to be here. And that's pay driven, and then just attitude driven.
That's cool.
Mike, one of the questions that I've been really dying to ask you, man, you said you got 15 trucks, and that's phenomenal. And so with those 15 trucks, you obviously have to have people driving those. So with our list, I think about all of our business owners and entrepreneurs and high achievers, people that are wanting to hire great employees, great team members, great right-hand mans, whether it's a strategic partner. So my question is to you, man, how do you find and retain those great employees that stay with you in the industry in landscaping? Because we both know it is labor intensive for landscaping and lawn care. Turnover is so high. So that's my first question. The second part of that question is, what leadership lessons have you learned along that way?
So, it's really back to what you said, the relationship with the people that currently work here. I have ears open. So if there's a trusted employee and he goes, "Hey, I know someone that wants to work," they approach me all the time. And in my industry, it's mainly the Hispanic race. And, they, just so happen to know somebody, a cousin, a brother, a friend. And, whenever we ran into those issues of your question in the past, we were putting bodies at problems. So we were just hiring anybody just to kind of, fill the void of that, the volume that was coming in. But now it's not just, "Hey, you're hired." It's more of an interview process. And during that process, we're listening to them, we're hearing their wants and needs, and then we'll counter with them and say, "Hey, this is what's realistic with our company." And then to retain them, we put them on when they first start, we'll put them on a probationary period, and then we'll reevaluate their pay after their probationary period is up, to see if they actually follow through with what they promised in their interview.
And you're so experienced Like, and you just breathe it at this point. It's like once someone has done something for so long and become so successful in it, it's like you don't even realize how good you might be, and that attracts people. People who are maybe wanting to do the same thing or have a business completely different, but they know that you have business acumen. Do you have a lot of people coming to you asking you questions like, "Hey, how do you do this?" or "How do you do that?" and what kind of things do they ask you?
I do. Yeah, I do have people that in my industry that will ask me like, "Hey, how to do this install?" And I freely give the information, just because there was someone that mentored me along the way with like how to install pavers or retaining wall blocks. So I try to give out the information. I mean, there's a lot of work in my industry. I guess what just sets you apart is just being nice, because then it comes back forward. So I try not to hold back and be ugly in that sense.
That's cool. What kind of mistakes, and I say mistakes, that might be the wrong word, but what do you see some business owners not doing right or not doing well, where you're like, well, that's maybe not the right direction to go? Do you ever see that?
I do. And, some people are stubborn, like if you're a business owner, maybe you know it all. I mean, I don't claim to know it all. You know what I mean? I'm always a open ears listener, but sometimes I've ran into that scenario. I do every day, but then it's like, sometimes I see it on social media and it may come across disrespectful to call someone out or, but I do get approached often I don't know if that answered your question or not.
The reason I asked it was, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs listen to this. And so I'm always trying to think, well, what would be, when we have someone like you, because we have new people coming on too, like they're a year, 2 years in and they know what they're doing. And even people who've been in business 20 years and they listen to this and they might be dealing with what you just said, right? That maybe hard-headed. And
I would just say, if you need help, ask, no question stupid. If you have the energy to ask it, then definitely ask.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful journey because Sean has said many times, like he was hard-headed in the past and he learned the skill. He learned the ability to ask questions and be humble. And it's been, and he preaches that all the time. So it's funny to hear you say the same thing.
So Mike, rolling into time management and prioritization, I love this question. Have you ever read the book by Michael E. Gerber called The E-Myth?
I haven't.
Okay. So he talks about like working on your business and not in it. You'd mentioned that earlier in the episode. And so I didn't understand that concept. And I talked to a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that they think they're working on their business, but they're actually working in it. And so it breaks it down in this book where there's a technician, there's a manager, and then there's the entrepreneur, which is working on the business and not in it. And there's a percentage that breaks down for each technician, manager, and entrepreneur. And I find it fascinating because if you're transparent with yourself, you're like, where am I? And when I built the insurance company, when I did the landscaping company, typically, if you're the founder and you're starting the company and you lack capital, you're the one doing all the work. So you're 100% technician. Then you transition into the manager after you start replacing yourself. But what I have found working with a lot of business owners is they're the solo operators. They're working by themselves. So they don't ever get to work on the business and not in it. Whether it's their choice or not, I don't know. But for you as a business owner, I'm curious, how do you manage your time effectively between working on the business and working in the business and where you're at?
So, I mean, theoretically, I could take 2 months off and still have my company operating. I mean, because we've had, like I said, I was listening to other people and whatnot. So we have.
What's the longest you've ever taken off?
Honestly, I'm a workaholic, so I haven't taken off that long.
I challenge you.
I've taken off for.
I challenge you.
I've taken off for 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
I've taken off for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Got it.
I went on vacation, but no, I mean, obviously things do run smoother whenever I'm involved. And I'm really just a face. Like I just show up and I just make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to. I still drive by the jobs just to check on them. I mean, people, whenever they, unfortunately, they still think of Michael Faust whenever they're hiring me. So I still like to show face to my clients. They are spending a lot of money with me. But my day-to-day really is the majority of my work's the night before. So, in the afternoon, I spend about 3 hours on the computer and I'm working on the schedule. So my day-to-day is really the schedule for the lawn maintenance and the install crews. And then I'm also doing the designs and payroll. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Are you trying to replace yourself?
I have a gentleman that.
Are you trying to replace yourself?
Not right now. I mean, that could be. No, I mean, not right now. I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. in the future, maybe, but I'm 33 years old. I still feel like, I want to be involved with the day to day. I'm not looking to just hang it up and then just make money and not do anything. I think I would be stir crazy if I was at the house.
Yeah, that I find that fascinating because I hated doing all the admin stuff. If I had to send an email or if I had to talk to another, whether it was payroll, whatever, it depleted my energy. And then I told myself in the past, I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm young. I'm 32. I'm 38 now, but I'm 32. I'm 33. I can do this. But then I heard a mentor once told me, well, what happens if you get hit by a bus as the business owner?
Yeah.
Who runs the payroll? Who sends the emails? Who does the admin work? And it was a wake up call for me. I'm like, oh, so
sure.
Yeah, I may enjoy this right now, but what happens if Mike Faust isn't there tomorrow? God forbid, right? How does that operation? Yeah. Who sends the payroll? Is it documented? And once I started learning these things, I'm like, oh, so I need to start having my team document these standard operating procedures, because if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I want to make sure that payroll still runs, operations still runs. Yeah. All these things get taken care of. So it was a good eye opener for me.
No, I do agree. I do agree with you 100%. I definitely agree with you. And I have hired for those positions in the past, but for some reason that I think is a very critical point in the company. And with my experience, I didn't give it enough thought. I was more of the infield guys working. Like that's where my energy went, and process and procedures. So I haven't really gotten to that point where it was the admin stuff, because every time I've hired someone, I wasn't 100% satisfied with the way they were doing their job, which falls back on me as the business owner and training and whatnot. But so I've just taken over that role for a while. But you are right. It is something that I need to focus on at my company.
Mike, you know what they say, right? You know what they say? You ready for this? So I know business owners are listening to this that have so much issue relinquishing control. They can't do it like me. Yeah. They can't do it like Mike Faust. They can't do it like Sean. They can't do it like you, right?
Yeah.
But a mentor once told me 70% done is 100% awesome. Once I learned that, I'm like, okay, you mean they're never going to do it like me, but I can coach them and help them be 1% better,
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I said it falls on me. And, that would be an area in my company that I do need to fill the shoes. It's just not on the priority list at the moment, but you're right. I could leave this landscaping yard and something dramatic could happen. And, fortunately my wife does know how to do all of those things.
The backup. I love that, man.
She's the backup.
Yeah, I love that. So you said, you have 15 trucks and you're going to 20. Like, so you're at that phase where you still want to be involved in the business because you like it. You don't have to, like you've got it down, So that goes to your growth.
I mean, some of those guys have been working with me for a long time.
Yeah.
So they like to see me as well.
Yeah. And that's,
sorry to cut you off. I thought you were done.
I'm more curious, like on where do you go? Like, where's the future? You're 33. When you're 43, what does this thing look like? Because you're still in that like after it mode. Have you ever put time into that, or is it just more of the same and you just scale out? Or just where does the future go for you? As to like, let's say you're 43, 10 years from now, or you're 42. Is it more of the same and you just got bigger, or like what does that look like in your mind, and how do you progress towards?
Yeah, the next growth is just more volume. The more that we can do, the more that we'll make. But it's growing in baby steps to where, we wouldn't go from 45 employees to 60 right away. It would be, we would add a truck as we would need it, just based off the volume that we were getting, just so quality can stay the same.
I'd say, so is it under its own momentum that it will grow, or is there like that point where you're like, man, I want it here, and then I'll figure out the next move once I get there?
Its own momentum. I mean, of course, me and my general manager, Alex, we're always looking like how to grow, like where to market, where we should put targeted mailers, what podcasts we should be on, what networking groups we should be involved with, and look at the revenue, the ROI, and see if it actually worked for us. And if it does, then, so we run campaigns on Jobber, and, so it's just momentum of like what's grabbing. We're not paying a marketer to, spend $5,000 a month with them and they do all this stuff for us. We're not doing that. We're kind of just doing it organically ourselves.
Dude, there's going to be 4,500 homes in our community. You know that, right?
Right.
Just go get all 4,500 so you can just have your team walk up and down the road, man. Just flowers, flyers,
I will say that if we ever do anything in our neighborhood, it's the best employees that I think I have are going there. I mean, currently, just now, we have probably 6 projects going on in our neighborhood.
Yeah. Hey,
I mean, so we do have a good name in there.
I'm curious though. I'm curious how you approach this, because we grew over to 60 clients within our community, but it got to a point I didn't think about this. I'm curious if it's hit you. About 5 years in, when we grew this, I started realizing, because you know how it is, right? Customers are customers. They're great. They're awesome. We love them, but everybody's got their different opinions and perspectives. And so if something gets messed up, it's our job. Okay, hey, what do we need to do to take care of this? Customer service. But I'm curious with you, man, building something in a community, because I know you do a lot of business in our community, and it's probably only going to grow from here. How do you handle that, and how do you overcome that, growing a business within the community, when you see all these neighbors at the events, walking with your family on social media? I'm curious, how does that play emotionally on your mind, when these things pop up, instances, issues, problems?
Yeah. If I say that it doesn't bother me, I would lie. But I do put the face on that there's never an issue. And I try to separate myself from the company whenever I'm not clocked in at Faust Landscaping. I try to be Michael Faust and not the owner of Faust Landscaping. So if I see someone at the pool, it's, hey, how's it going? I don't bring up landscaping. Yeah. I just talk to them like another human. Yeah. Now, if they bring it up, I'll talk to them about it. But because my wife always hears about landscaping and yada, yada, whenever I clock out, over the years, I've learned to keep the landscaping not on top of the first conversation that comes out.
You mentioned your GM, and what kind of conversations do you guys have as far as day-to-day stuff? How do you communicate? Does he have a lot of say in what happens? Do you let him make big decisions, or is it kind of he goes through you, or how do you handle those together?
So any big decisions, I would say, go through me, but he was like a diamond in the rough. I didn't know I was hiring someone so great. He holds our irrigation license. He's been to, I didn't go to college. He went to college for business and horticulture. He's really passionate about landscaping. I let him make a lot of decisions where he wants to make them, so if he says, hey, price point should be here, I'll say why. And then he has a very thorough explanation, on why it should be. So, his main role, he's a commission-based salary paid employee. So he's doing a lot of the sales. He's doing a lot of the design work. He's not so much managing the crew members directly, but just managing the company, the umbrella of Faust Landscaping. So he doesn't really directly talk with the employees, but he's basically an inside business coach.
Wow.
Is the best way to put it.
He's really imperative to operations. He's really kind of you lean heavily on him. I was curious, so you could say easily how it all happened. You're like, man, he's a diamond in the rough. Didn't know that you were hiring him. What pattern, if you were to step out of that and say to someone else, like, here's what I learned. This is what I would. How would you coach someone on getting a GM like that? Because that's a beautiful thing to have.
Yeah, no, he came from a referral from a vendor. So whatever vendors that you guys use, build the relationships with your vendors. And once you build a relationship with your vendors, go to their CEUs, listen to them, go visit the stores, and then just build that reputation with them. And then they'll start feeding you clients. They'll start giving you great employees, someone that's in the industry looking for another job within the industry. Your vendors can help delegate that path. And that's how I found Alex, was having a good relationship with my vendors. So I would say focus on that.
It's really powerful, because that someone could duplicate, how could someone else learn from you in their industry? That's any industry. And that's solid.
Right.
Because you're putting yourself in the right places, asking the right questions, meeting the right people, and building trusting relationships where they're going to feed you whoever that person might be, so that's very cool.
Yeah, because the vendor knew who I was, he so in depth within Faust Landscaping, the way I run my business. He said, hey, Mike, I think this guy is a great fit. You thrive what he lacks, and he has what you lack. And I think you guys would really take off together. And I was like, well, I wasn't really financially ready to, take on someone at his pay that he wanted. But whenever I sat down with him, I was like, it doesn't matter what he wants. Let's go.
It was a return.
Yeah.
Knew the return was there.
Hey, transitioning a little bit, I wanted to make sure we touched on business and family. So I know we've talked a lot about business, but a lot of individuals that are listening to this, myself included, when I go back and listen, I always love touching on a balance of life, because Level Up and Live, we're big believers in how you do one thing is how you do everything, Mike. So obviously you're all in on Faust Landscaping, right? I mean, clearly you are with your team,
Correct.
growing, scaling, the things that you're doing. You have 2 babies and you have a fiance. So I'm curious with you, man, and just for our listeners, it's really no joke as far as running a business, doing what you're doing, scaling, and then also having a good, healthy marriage and home life, and some of these things that you do enjoy doing outside of that. And you had mentioned that before the episode we started recording. How do you balance being a great business owner with being a great partner for your fiance and kids?
I would say, to answer that question, if you haven't focused on processes and procedures within your company, that should be if you're working 7 days a week to keep your company alive, I would say right now, save your weekends for just focusing on processes and procedures immediately, so that you can get off earlier and not work on the weekends and spend time with your family. So right now I go to work Monday through Friday. For no matter what the reason is, I do not work Saturday and Sunday. I sometimes will leave on Friday early, like I'll do payroll and then I'll leave. But I go to work early in the morning. I'm a gardener, right? I'm a landscaper, and I don't work past like 4 o'clock where I'm at today. Sometimes I'll get off at noon. Sometimes I'll get off at 4. But I'm very strict on that because my kids are little. I want to see them as much as possible. So, and I do not talk about work at home with my wife.
And that's awesome.
She put the roadblock on that though. But if your wife hasn't, I advise you not to talk to your wife about work.
I'm sure she's there to still support you. I'm sure when times are, if you're struggling, like she doesn't need to know necessarily about the work, but she's there to step in and be that support.
Yeah, she is. But if you knew my wife and you were to go ask her right now what's going on at Faust Landscaping, she has no clue.
Hey, that's some good advice. That thing right there. Like,
yeah,
as long as that's what she wants. If a wife wants to be involved, I'm sure you'd let her be. But if she doesn't,
sure,
then yeah, that's a good rule. Like, okay, the wife should know nothing. The fiance should know nothing about the business, and because that's a great sign that you're just not going down that route, and that's awesome. Could you see your kids working with you?
I'm a girl dad. But if they wanted to, sure, but I don't want to see them out here with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would rather them go to college and do something totally different. I started this because I felt like I had to.
Let's tap into that if you don't mind. Me
I was in the oil industry, oil and gas, and picked up some bills and vehicles and house notes, and I just kept getting laid off. And I lived on about an acre there, and I had all the equipment and to mow like my yard. So my brother picked me up. He's a talker, and he picked me up an apartment complex on maintenance, and it paid one day there about half of my check in the oil industry, just doing one visit at this apartment complex. So that's how I saw the need for the landscaping industry.
Well, and you've been in business for 11 years. So I'm a big believer in we're big into fitness. So we do I'll do marathons, me and you, and we've actually got a competition in High Rocks, which is about a 75-minute competition, and it's straight endurance. I mean, zone 3, zone 4. And so you're just consistently moving. So that transition into the discipline, the mindset, the grit that in business. So you've been in business for 11 years. And I tell business owners all this time, and because I've learned it myself being a student in the game, it has to be sustainable. What's that emotional compelling nature? So when you got into this 11 years ago was because I had to, I fell into it. And that's typically what happens to a lot of business. I got terminated from my employers. So my back was up against the wall. So I started a business. And so a lot of business owners that are listening to this, we a lot of times get into it for the wrong reasons, for the money, because we have to, and all these different things. But I'm sure here you are today, that's evolved. Your why has evolved. So why are you in business now? Why do you continue to do the things that you do on a daily basis to get to where you want to go?
If I'm being transparent with you, I've been doing this for 11 years. So it's what I know. And I am passionate about it. I do enjoy landscaping. I like making my clients happy. I like seeing that reaction. But I feel like, if being transparent, the money I'm making at Faust Landscaping, I don't think I could go work for the boss and make what I'm making. But I don't want anyone listening, or both of you guys, to think that, Mike's just in it for the money. I do enjoy doing the landscaping, so it's not a problem for me to come to work. But after you do something for so long, you do kind of get burned out on it. You know what I mean?
Well,
So finding that next niche of, oh my God, I'm interested. It was whenever I hired Alex, it made me want to do this again, and because it's going the direction I wanted it to go after hiring the right person with me.
so if you could give one piece of advice for business owners listening to this that want to grow their company like you have without burning out, what would it be?
Just stick to the change, be positive, be innovative, set yourself differently than the rest of the competition. But yeah, I don't know the best answer to that question. Sorry.
And I'm interested. I'm interested in your personality, Matt. I find you fascinating. You're a very interesting person, and I'm curious. If you didn't do the landscaping, what would you do? Like, what would be you have so much knowledge and insight, and you really are free. You could go do whatever you wanted at this point if you wanted to. And not that you would at all, because you love what you're doing. But if it was just for that indulgent, just self-serving, I would love that fun thing. It could be anything. I'm just curious what your personality would go to.
Honestly, that's a great question that I don't ever think about. I would want to do something kind of exciting. My dad grew up as a business owner, so it would probably be real estate if it was something, but buying and flipping houses and getting into the commercial real estate, that would probably be something I'd be interested in. And that's one of my goals to branch off of once, I feel comfortable making that transition. But if it was a totally different career, it would probably be something, I wouldn't say a cop, but more of an adrenaline rush, like SWAT member or something like that,
Strike me as that, man.
It would be something like that.
Yeah, I could see you being a Navy SEAL.
It would be. I think it would be something intense.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. What's a hobby for you? What's your passion?
I used to play video games, to be honest with you, but after having 2 kids, that doesn't happen anymore. I enjoy playing basketball. I enjoy golfing. So I would say those are my 2 hobbies. And a weird one that I haven't done in a long time, playing paintball. I used to play competitive paintball.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, my dad owned a paintball field whenever I was growing up, so we played every weekend, and
that is cool.
So I used to play in a lot of tournaments and stuff. Yeah,
that's very cool. I will say this on the video game front. How old are your kids?
4 and 4 months.
So yeah, be prepared.
4 and 4 months.
In the next 4 to 6 years, you'll be back playing video games again. My son, he's 9, and he's big into Minecraft. So is my daughter. She's 11. And about a couple of months ago, he was like, "Let's play, Dad." And I said, "Man, I don't really. I'm very close to my kids, but I don't play video games anymore. I used to love video games too." And I'm like, it was a Friday night, and my wife and daughter were out, and he said, Let's play, Dad." And I was like, "You know what, Locke, let's do it." And we played Minecraft, and it was player versus player. And I'm like, "Man, I'm gonna crush him. I know he's good." And I couldn't beat him. I could not touch him. And so I immediately was researching how to beat my son on video games. So you've got that coming.
Yeah. No, that'd be something fun to look forward to. I need to start working out. I know you run all the time, Sean. I don't know too much about you, but you do look fit. I need to definitely see.
Hey man, we got a run club on Saturday morning.
Every day is Saturday, man. Level Up and Live Run Club, brother. Yep. Be there. Yeah,
never been a runner. Neither are we. Way behind on you guys.
So,
but maybe
you've never been a runner.
Out.
But you have these communities like Level Up and Live. That who are in these communities, right? It's people. Right. And what do these people have? They have yards, and they need Faust Landscaping to come do business with, right? So, who are you wanting to become? And those are sometimes some of the best clients of what I have found, people that are fitness and health and kind of similar habits.
Sure.
Speaking of habits, well, I'm curious with you, man, what are some positive habits for your personal life and business that you run congruent on a daily basis? for the listeners? Because I know a lot of people struggle with habits and positive habits, but what have you found that works best for you that's really leveled your personal and business life up?
So, just taking some time to yourself, eating clean, waking up early, that's what I guess would be congruent with the success of my company, is just the discipline on how I'm eating and, just being up before everyone else, but then going to bed on time as well.
And that's some solid, like if you can do those two things, that's you're way ahead of the curve. I'll say this on the you've never been a runner thing. Yeah. I had never been. I was a sprinter. I could go fast. I sprinted from my city growing up, and I never long distance. And then Sean started the run club, and I showed up, and I was puffed out for like 3 weeks. But around the 4th, 5th, 6th week, I started feeling my fitness going up, and then before you know it, 6 months in, we're running a marathon. And it doesn't take long. Yeah, man. And I hated running as well. And now it's absolute passion. I can't believe I'm saying these words. It's just a matter of finding what it is. And maybe it's not running for you, but it's something out there. It'd be we'll need to do a workout together sometime.
Sounds good. Just send the invite.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Mike, we are out of time, man. I tell you this all the time. Every time we talk to another business owner, I feel like we can dive deep on just hundreds of questions because obviously we resonate. We've been through it. We're going through it as far as the experiences and the skill sets. And it's such a beautiful journey. I love it. And just making sure we surround ourselves with other like-minded individuals. And that's been our journey. And so that's what leveling up and living our best life is all about. And so in these different areas of life, we appreciate you being here today, man. We're very grateful for you sharing and being authentic, being transparent and showing up the way you are today. With that being said, how can our community, how can Level Up and Live, how can we support you in Faust Landscaping?
A Facebook follow would be great on Faust Landscaping LLC. We have a business page. We also have a website, faustlandscapingllc.com. And then my phone number is 936-207-3238. So any of those 3 ways, that's a way to contact me. If you're just wanting to do some support, but you're not looking for landscaping, just follow us and show us some love whenever we make posts.
Brilliant.
Love that, man.
I know I will
appreciate
you.
Man, and we'll also have that in the show notes as well.
I've been on your Facebook page, and it's just, you just keep scrolling. It's like a visually stimulating thing to just watch. So,
thank you.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Thanks again.
Well, hey, it was a pleasure, guys. Thanks for inviting me. I look forward to meeting you both in person and getting to know both of you more.
Yeah, brilliant, Mike. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike.